So I was, on December 21st, I was watching a weatherman on television, and he made a statement that, and he made it as though no one had ever made this statement before. He said, "Don't you realize that this is the shortest day of the year? And from this point on, days will just get a little longer." And that's nice. It was nice to hear that, and I thought, rather than be irritated by the fact that he's saying this as though no one's ever heard this before, I think I'll see what I can do with this in my consciousness and see what happens. So I started thinking about the idea of a little more light each day, a little more light. I think it's about 3 minutes a day, maybe this. But it's quite an amazing thing that happens every year, has been happening every year for as long as the planet has had its tilt to it. And it's quite a thing, you know. Everything seems to be in some sort of divine perfect order in order for us to have seasons and for us to be able to measure time this way. And it's been done for millennia because we discovered things all over the world where Stonehenge is a way of measuring time and keeping track of this. You know, the ancients had a much closer relationship to the planet and the stars and the movements in the heavens than we do today. For one thing, they didn't have anything else to do. And another thing is there was no distraction whatsoever from them being able to see the stars and the moon and so forth. And because they could see this and they could see that the seasons were changing, they started asking themselves, why is it like this? And they made up stories. They conjured up stories as to why it was this way. And I love the story that the ancients told about this shortest day of the year. They had an entire festival around it called Saturnalia, or the unconquerable sun. And the idea for the Mediterranean peoples, the Romans especially, was that the sun almost goes away and then decides to come back and return to us. And so it's our purpose in this even exchange consciousness that they had. It's important for us to have holidays and light bonfires and make merry and do everything we can to show how pleased we are with the world around us, so that the sun will decide on its own to return. As though it wouldn't. As though it someday might just decide, well, I'm just going to drop down below the horizon, and that's that. And that's a very strange way of looking at life from our point of view, but not from theirs, because everything to them was a very close relationship. Everything. Not only their family and the relationship they had with their animals and the relationship they had with the forest or the plain or wherever they lived, but also with the sun. It was very important to them, this relationship with the sun. Now, we have a word that we use in English that sounds very similar to sun, which is sun. And we tie Jesus and all of that in Christianity in with the idea of him being this unconquerable S-O-N, sun. And we have used this whole expression throughout history ever since Saturnalia was unconquerable. You know, the church tried to wipe that out, that whole idea of making merry and getting drunk and doing all the things that people did during Saturnalia. They decided this is just an abominable event and we have to get rid of this. So they did everything they could to wipe it out, and they just couldn't do it. It just wouldn't go away. So they decided, well, let's adopt it, and we'll change it over and we'll make it the birthday of Jesus, and we'll just move on from there, and everyone can continue to worship, but now we'll put different meaning on the celebration, and everyone will be much happier that way, because they won't have the government trying to interfere with something that they just naturally want to do. So that's why we have Christmas on December 25th and so forth, because the way their calendar, the Julian calendar, they didn't use the calendar that we use, the Gregorian calendar. Everything shifted a little bit, so December 25th was actually the shortest day of the year in that calendar. So that's why we see things this way today. use that date. We still use December 25th as the birthday of Jesus, but we no longer does it fit in with the winter solstice. It doesn't fit in with the shortest day of the year. But that still lingers. That whole day about the shortest day of the year still lingers. A lot of people celebrate it and they like it, and that's the whole purpose of the Yule log. Like I said, build a big bonfire to keep yourself warm and make a lot of light. And if we could just add a little more light to the world, then that can help persuade the sun to return. Because in the Norse mythology, they lived in much further northern climes, and the sun actually, in some of those places, did dip completely down, and they had a couple of days of no sun at all until it started peaking up again on the horizon as it rose up. So they thought they were losing the sun altogether, and so they built big bonfires, and this Yule log tradition still lives today. That's amazing. All this time. The thing that's changed for us is that we've become, in some ways, a little brighter. We've gained some knowledge about how things are working around us. We see things from a little bit brighter perspective as far as the way that we see the world around us, and science, and the heavens, and the movements within them. And yet, something has been taken away in all that. And that is that personal relationship with our nature. We no longer have that. We know, every one of us know, that December 21st or thereabouts will be the winter solstice, and we all know that signifies the shortest day of the year. And we just assume, okay, it's the shortest day of the year, so what? Because tomorrow's going to be another day. Continues on. We know that it comes and goes in cycles. I started thinking about this as far as us losing this relationship we have with nature, and also our knowledge that has made us, as I said, brighter. We're almost brilliant now. The whole race is just an amazing thing. But spiritually, something is going on right at this moment in history that is has a lot of people worried, and that is that this dark side seems to be rising and seems to be taking over. There are so many of our young people who are going online, which is a wonderful thing to be able to go online, but they're tuning into jihadist views, and they're listening to these ideas, and they're thinking, yeah, this is a good thing. You know, that just blows me away. I can't imagine how they think that way. I can't imagine. But then again, in my generation, we had our ways of rebelling. Most of you are in my generation. Some of you aren't, but a few of you are. We had our ways of rebelling. We had our ways of turning away from things. But amazingly, we were turning away from war and toward peace. And now this generation is turning away from peace and towards war against the society and so forth. Yes, we were rebelling against what we call the establishment, and so are they, but in such a different way. We didn't want to go someplace and join some organization that wants to destroy all that is. All we wanted to do was change the organization, the way it was formed, and make it more organic, make it more reasonable, make it, again, to have relationship, once again, to nature and to one another, and not be quite so mechanical. Maybe that's what's happened. Maybe our society has become so mechanical in nature that other people, younger people, find it hard to relate to it. They can't imagine growing up that way. They are looking for something, I think, that connects them once again to something of the Spirit. And how they think that this can be a good way of making that connection is beyond me, but I think that's basically what they're looking for. They're looking for a little more light, day by day. I think it's our duty to look for a little more light within ourselves. It's our duty to do this. It's our responsibility. It's our very nature to look for a little more light, to make the daylight on the planet a little brighter, to somehow restore love and peace to everyone's heart. So if there isn't this cry for violence and destruction, so that there is a way of looking at life once again that says, I belong, I'm part of, I don't want to be apart from, I want to be a part of. To do this, we have to recognize that these people are not outsiders or others. They're us. They're every one of us. We're all just alike. We're all breathing the air of the planet. We all appreciate the food that's on the planet, the water that's on the planet. And we have to realize that we are partners in all of this, as though we are a family. We seem to have forgotten that. It's time to look back and find that again. You know, one of the things about this whole idea of the cycle of life is that, yeah, the days do get longer, but at some point in the summertime, they begin to shorten again. It's shorter and shorter and shorter. And so we go through this shortening, lengthening, all these cycles. Now, I have been through a few and realized that it's going to continue on. First of all, it continued on long before I was ever here, and it will continue on long after I decide to leave this body. It'll happen to every one of us. It will continue to go on and on and on in this way. There is no beginning or end. It just goes on and on. From a spiritual point of view, that would seem a little disheartening. I gain light, I gain light, I gain light, I gain enlightenment, and then, as every one of us know, we go through periods where we kind of fall away from that. And it seems as though we're sinking back into darkness, and we don't particularly like that. Those things that once made us very excited about discovering things, about spirituality, we suddenly start saying, oh, been there, done that. Yeah, I know all about that. Yeah, just another face saying the same thing to me. Another book says the same thing over and over again. Is it really this simple? Is it really that easy to grasp? Yes, it is in a way. It is very simple and easy to grasp. It takes a falling away and it takes a stripping ourselves of all of the trappings of the world to be able to hear it and to enjoy it. Just like in the fall, it takes the dropping of the leaves, it takes the slowing down of everything else around the earth in order for this shortening of days to make sense. And then when I come back, then blossoming occurs again. For all of us, for every one of us, this occurs in our lives. And the great writer C.S. Lewis, this book called The Screwtape Letters. If you've ever read that before or heard of the Screwtape Letters. It's a story about a little imp, a devil, trying to influence a man on earth, and he's kind of new at this. So he's having some problems actually getting this man's soul. So he writes to his uncle, Uncle Screwtape, and says, Uncle, you're a very experienced demon. Tell me all about how to win this soul over for Satan. And he explains to him what the processes that he must go through. And he says, well, I'm having a hard time right now really reaching this guy because he's gone to some evangelical events and he's all fired up for God, and I just don't feel like I can reach him. I'm about to give up. And his uncle tells him, oh, don't worry. Obviously, you don't know about the law of undulation. The law of undulation. Oh, yes, he'll feel this way, and he'll get all fired up and everything, but he'll drift away, and he'll come back down. Catch him at that down spot. It'll come. Catch him at the down spot. If you don't, then he'll return on his cycle up again. His spirit will once again start going up. This law of undulation is true. It comes to every one of us, just like the lengthening of the days and the shortening of the days come. It comes to every one of us. We go through a period of being all fired up, really like spirituality and the whole idea of I am spirit first. And then something comes along, like our income tax refunds, or something you have to pay, or a car wreck, or you imagine all the nasty things that could possibly happen. And as they happen, sometimes we sort of fall away. We fall away and we go back into our old, yeah, right, nothing ever good ever happens for me, and so forth. And we sort of feel victimized and we fall into that mood. And then something comes along and takes us back out of it, rises our hopes again. Suddenly we feel victorious and powerful, and we're on top of it again, and this time we're a little higher than we were the last time, because we have all that knowledge from the past that we sort of almost dumped and then brought with us back up again. We're constantly expanding and moving forward. Or another way to look at it is it's like a divine spiral. It starts and grows, and it also goes up and up, further out, gains more power, more knowledge. As this happens, we change. As we change, we become closer and closer to being that spiritual being that we really are. We come closer and closer to being that source of divine light, that spark. We come to realize that we are the light, just as Norm spoke about in this song. That's truly who we are. We are the light. Are we the light like the sun that shines and has all these radiations of different wavelengths? In a sense, yes, but it's different in spiritual terms. In spiritual terms, it has more to do with intelligence, understanding, love, peace, stillness. We become less and less agitated by the hour, and we become more and more identifying with the inner. As we identify with the inner, we enter into a new land, a new way of approaching life, a way of seeing things that is different than before, because we shed a little more light on each and everything that happens to us in our day or in our night. Anything that occurs in our lives is changed, modified, transformed by using this spiritual power of light, of being able to look at any situation and saying to ourselves, this too shall pass. There's undulation to that as well. This too shall pass. I shall return again to the being of light that I truly am. It's very similar to the dark and the light as the cycle of days and nights continue. Yes, there will be times when it appears there is no light, but that too will pass, and there will be day again. Yes, there will be times like today when the sun appears to be gone because it's obscured by clouds, cloudiness in our mind, but that too shall pass. Everything has its cycles, everything returns back. The one constant in all of these cycles is this victorious light. The ancients pictured it as the sun, but they also used that as just a way of observing something they knew was occurring within. They knew that there was something grand within them that they could access at any time they wished. and that this outer world was just a way of seeing this inner event that was taking place. So here we are on the 27th of December. We're a week into having a little more light. We can do this throughout our year. We can add a little more light, a little more light. And as we do, some of the ideas that we carry within us become a little lighter.